Everyone, this is the end. You've made it this far. I'm proud of you all. It's under very unusual circumstances that I come to you with this review. I hope you have kept the motivation as best you can as we approach this last moment of review. So, what I've done for you, I made a giant post with just some last minute details, things to remember, but I wanted you to, see my face, hear my voice one more time. Hopefully, I can inspire you to study tonight and do well tomorrow. So, a couple things I want to point out to you that have been posted for you. All right. So, to begin with, we are going to look at the exam guide for tomorrow. So, I'm going to share this with you right now. And basically, what you see here, don't forget it's tomorrow, 1 p.m., 1 o'clock. I would be logged in by 12:30. Have your exam e-ticket, which should have been emailed to you yesterday. Make sure you have any notes you want printed, ready to go. Charge that iPad, hard reset beforehand. Make sure that you have a clear workspace and your workflow. Again, some of you have already taken AP tests, but if you haven't taken one yet, I think the easiest thing for you to do would be either do your work on paper and then take pictures of it, upload it to Notability, and submit it as a text file PDF. Um, Other people have been just writing on Notability, downloading that as a PDF. You can experiment with that, see what works best for you. Just make sure that you've pre-labeled your pages with the necessary information at the top of the page. That way we know you got your name on there, you got your AP ID, have it all prepared. Anything you could do to save time is going to be helpful. If you're doing text file, make sure it's one of these formats. If it's a photo, do not use HEIC. Your iPad, if you took photos with the iPad, I have been told can save it that way, or if you have an updated Apple phone, those have not been working. So you either want to change your settings or to save time on that, just take pictures and put them into a Notability file and send that as a PDF. And again, that would be a text file. Okay? If you have any questions about how to do that, let me know. But again, Notability files are automatically PDFs, so if you just put your pictures in there, you should be in good shape. All photos should be in vertical format, I've been told as well. Other things, again, it's a maximum of 5 photos per question, so that would end up being like 5 pages. Make sure your AP ID and initials are at the top of every page. These are the browsers that I've been told to work. Other things to note, you can again kind of just look through here and see. And if you're going to use equation editor or type, which I highly doubt any of us are going to be typing the answers, there is a guideline on those shortcuts. I'm sorry, I should have pointed that out. The approved formula sheet, again, I think what we use is better. I wouldn't worry about that. Okay, other things to note, just little tips and tricks here in this little guide. This you can kind of look through on your own. Again, I wouldn't try to do internet searches unless it's like a real quick, what are the assumptions for confidence interval? If you could do something quick, that's fine. But if you are like looking up the actual text of the question or trying to communicate with people, that's a no-no. That would be considered cheating. If something goes wrong, the good news, this is the second week of exams. I've been told if something should go wrong, there's a chance to email your responses at the end of the test. So if you were someone who took an exam the first week, had a tech glitch, something weird, and you still are more than welcome to take the conflict exam. That date would be June 4th. But if you get to the end and you're not sure if stuff worked or something went weird, you can email it. I've been told that there's like a email window that'll pop up. So hopefully everything goes well, there's no glitches. If something goes wrong, again, let me know, let Mrs. Kenny and Mrs. May know, and we'll get you signed up for that conflict exam. All right, make sure you have a nice space, no disturbances, okay? Try and tell your family from 1 to 2, that's your time. You need that space. Make sure you have good lighting. You have space to lay out any notes you want. And again, my advice would be I'll show you kind of which formula sheets I would focus on, but make sure you have your information out and ready, your iPad charged. Again, the hard reset's been done. Any notifications, disable them so you're not getting pop ups while you're working. Same with your phone. Make sure your Wi Fi is good, everything's charged. You know the drill. So, again, I log in by 12:30. Make sure your e ticket is ready. Make sure you don't refresh the browser, it will start at 1. And again, it's 25 minutes. That's what I would expect. Don't waste time. When it says 5-minute warning in red, I would start getting your information ready. especially because with this test, you may have to take pictures, turn them into a PDF, and submit. You're going to need those 5 minutes, trust me. And the same with the second question. You have 15 minutes to work and 5 minutes to get your response sent in. Again, don't close the browser window until it literally says your AP exam is complete. Okay? And this just tells you sort of what to expect, what to look for. Again, text files, that would be like PDFs. If you take photos and turn them into PDFs, that still counts as a text file. Whereas photos themselves, you could submit as well. But I have a feeling more people are going to be doing the notability thing, which is this on the left. Again, you can actually practice this through the AP practice link that's been sent in many posts of ours. All right. So beyond this, everyone, another thing I wanted to show you is, so let me close that down. Let me find another screen share I can do. So the giant packet that we had from a while back, the giant packet, I would focus on the following. So if you recall, it starts with this adorable meme. How cute. Here's the deal. This stuff, as I scroll through, this is provided on the AP College Board website. I've sent a link to that both in the exam guide that I just went through as well as in a separate post. I wouldn't worry about these pages. Honestly, you're going to use your calculator most likely. This stuff with Z, the ones that say standard normal probabilities, this is all normal CDF. So if you've been using your calculator for that, ignore those. This stuff, this is like a T chart. The only thing that could be beneficial here is if you're asked to find alpha. I remind you how to find that for two tail and one tail here. And if you needed to find T star when you're doing margin of error for means confidence intervals, it's the lower row when you get here, which is also kind of like Z star. But honestly, you probably won't use that. This stuff, chi-squared, it's not even on the exam. Don't look at it. All right, this stuff here, I sent this to you. This talks about how to find confidence interval. If you've looked at any of the practice information, they may not even ask you to talk about all these. They might say the assumptions are met, the conditions are met. What kind of interval are you doing? Or they might say, here's the interval, describe it in context. So this is a helpful page just to review and know what confidence intervals are. Same here with type 1, type 2 errors and phantoms for hypothesis testing. But again, I don't think you're going to have time to do a full question. If you've looked at any of the practice ones on YouTube, they usually say something like, what would be the null and alternative hypotheses? Or here's the assumptions, what would be the conditions? What test are you using? Like that's really all they're asking. They're not, sometimes they don't even ask for the test statistic. They might just say, here's the p-value. What's the decision you made? So be aware of these things, but I doubt you're going to have one question that goes through all of them. On this page, I think this is probably the other important page to have. Down here, notice not on the exam. Ignore this. Basically, assumptions are on the left, conditions are on the right. We tended to talk about those simultaneously when we did examples, but what I've seen in some of these practice questions is they'll say, if I'm doing a proportion or the percent of a certain group, and I want to do a hypothesis test or a confidence interval, they may say the assumptions are met. What are the conditions? And you would just look over here and go, oh, these are the conditions for using hypothesis tests with one proportion or two proportions, or with one mean or two means. So they kind of mention those here. And again, I'd highly suggest looking at an entire video that talks about how to use this guide. That is one of my YouTube links I posted, as well as how to do this with Unit 5 and Unit 6. Other things to note here, this is a little bit more technical. This is just reminding you of what the tests and confidence interval names are. You're probably going to do this on your calculator. A one proportion or two proportion Z interval or test, or a one sample or two sample T test or T interval. Again, the bottom is useless. And this stuff, this is a way more technical. If this wasn't something that made sense to you, don't worry about it. And this was just a flow chart of me reminding you what's on the exam. Again, I kind of put this into a packet for you guys that I just posted today. And where you can see that is, it's called, boom, 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 boom. Oh, hold on one second. I hit the wrong button. I just created like a giant last minute review. That's where I would find all that stuff. Other things to note if you're wanting to remember how to use your calculator. Basically, people, you're going to want to make sure Again, they're pretty much not going to have you do a ton of data entry. I highly doubt that's going to be part of the exam. If you want to just make sure, you could go to second, 0, and then X to the negative first here, and go down to diagnostic on and select enter and just make sure that's on. That means you'll see R and R squared if you did linear regression. Again, I don't think you have time to enter points. They'll probably tell you what R and R squared are in a problem. If you want to remember where normal CDF and inverse norm are, that's second vars. They're right there, 2 and 3. Again, I describe how to use those in the last minute review or in previous videos. If you're looking for where you find confidence intervals and hypothesis tests, that would be second step. Sorry, it would just be stat and go to tests. Again, t-test, that's if you're talking about means. Two samples is if you have two of them and you're comparing them. One proportion z-test or two proportion z-test, that's what you would use if you're using proportions or percents. And it's hypothesis testing. You've never just picked number 1 or number 3. That would be if you actually had information, which again, I highly doubt they're gonna make you enter a lot of information. Z interval, I would probably opt for the one that says 1 proportion Z interval or 2 proportion Z interval or 2 sample T interval or T interval. Those are the ones you're primarily going to use, as well as, again, you could skip all this chi-squared stuff, skip linear regression t-test, we didn't do that. You might need to know something about binomial and geometric distributions. Again, that's in our last minute review. That's under second vars, and those are at the bottom here. And again, I describe how to use them all in the last minute review. I don't think you're going to have to worry about entering data, making a histogram, all that stuff. I don't think there's going to be time for that. Those would be in a unit 1 review video, but again, I wouldn't worry about that too much. Okay? Other than that, guys, I wish you luck. I think you've done a great job so far this year. If you've been studying, if you've been keeping up on the videos, if you have time to look at the YouTube reviews, I'd go unit by unit or look at the last minute review. If you don't understand something, go find a review video about it. I think you'll do a great job tomorrow. All right. Again, check out the stuff I sent with this post. I think that is a good way to just narrow your focus on what you absolutely need to know for tomorrow. All right, everyone. Good luck. You got this.